The chains bit into Marcus's wrists as the Velanthi guards shoved him forward, his knees striking the cold obsidian floor of the throne room. Around him, the assembled nobles whispered in their melodic language, words he had learned to understand during his 3 years of captivity, words that cut deeper than any blade. A human. They dare insult her radiance with this? The Consortium grows bold in their contempt. Look at it. Barely fit for the mine pits. Marcus kept his head down, not from submission, but from the exhaustion of hope. He had been a xenobiologist once, part of humanity's first diplomatic mission to the outer reaches. That mission had ended in fire and betrayal. Now he was cargo, a political statement wrapped in flesh and failure. The Velanthi Dominion's throne room stretched impossibly high, crystalline pillars catching the light of 3 artificial suns that hung suspended in the vaulted ceiling. Everything here was designed to diminish, to remind visitors of their insignificance. It was working. "Approach," a voice commanded from the throne. The guards dragged him closer. Marcus finally raised his eyes. Queen Seraphina Velkorath sat upon a throne of living silver, its tendrils shifting slowly around her form like protective serpents. She was tall, as all Velanthi were, nearly 7 feet of alabaster skin traced with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed with her heartbeat. Her eyes were the color of dying stars, deep violet bleeding into gold at the edges. 4 delicate horns crowned her head like a natural tiara, and her silver hair cascaded past her shoulders in waves that seemed to move of their own accord. She was beautiful in the way a supernova was beautiful, distant, devastating, and utterly beyond reach. Beside her stood a male Velanthi in ceremonial armor, his expression carved from contempt. Lord Vathis, her uncle and regent advisor, held a data tablet displaying Marcus's file. "A gift," Vathis announced, his voice dripping with barely concealed pleasure from the Sci-Fi Consortium. "In honor of your radiances," continued unmarried state. The insult landed exactly as intended. Marcus saw the queen's jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. The Velanthi placed enormous weight on bonded partnerships. A queen without a consort after her 30th cycle was considered cursed, broken, unfit to rule. Seraphina had refused every suitor for 8 years. The Consortium was reminding her, and her court, of that failure. "They send us a human," one of the nobles laughed. "Perhaps they suggest her radiance has fallen so low that only a primitive species would accept her." More laughter rippled through the court. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Not quite anger, but its quieter cousin. He had lost everything: his crew, his purpose, his home among the stars. He had nothing left to protect, which meant he had nothing left to fear. "I wasn't aware," he said, his voice cutting through the laughter, "that the Velanthi found cowardice so amusing." Silence crashed through the throne room like a physical force. Vathis' eyes blazed. "You dare speak unbidden in the presence of—" "I was sent here as an insult," Marcus continued, still on his knees but meeting the queen's gaze directly. "Not to you. To me. To my species. The Consortium could have executed me. They've killed the rest of my crew. Instead, they sent me here because they believe being given to the Velanthi is a fate worse than death. They believe you will break me, humiliate me, destroy whatever's left of my dignity." He paused. "So far, your court is proving them right." A noble lunged forward, energy blade materializing in his hand. "I'll cut out your tongue, creature, whole." The single word from Queen Seraphina froze everyone in place. She rose from her throne, and the living silver flowed away from her like water retreating from shore. Each step she took toward Marcus echoed in the absolute silence. She stopped before him, close enough that he could see the individual pulses of light traveling beneath her skin like captured lightning. Her eyes searched his face with an intensity that made him want to look away. But he didn't. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then the queen's eyes widened. The bioluminescent patterns across her skin flickered erratically. Marcus had studied enough Velanthi physiology to know this indicated extreme emotional disturbance. "It can't be," she gasped, the words barely a whisper. The court erupted in confused murmurs. Vathis stepped forward, alarm replacing his smugness. "Your radiance, what is it? What's wrong?" Seraphina's hand moved as if of its own accord, reaching toward Marcus's face. She stopped herself just before contact, her fingers trembling inches from his cheek. "Where did you get that scar?" she asked, her voice strange, almost broken. Marcus's hand unconsciously rose to the thin white line that ran from his left temple to his jaw, a souvenir from the attack that had killed his crew. 3 years ago, when my ship was destroyed. "The ship's name," she demanded. "Tell me the ship's name." "The Meridian Hope, Earth's first long-range diplomatic vessel." The queen's composure shattered. She stepped back, her hand pressed to her chest as if trying to contain something that wanted to escape. The nobles watched in stunned bewilderment as their untouchable monarch struggled visibly with some private devastation. "That's impossible," she breathed. "That ship was lost. Everyone aboard was killed. I saw the debris field myself. I searched for..." She stopped herself, but not before Marcus caught the implication. "You were there?" he asked. "At the Meridian Hope?" Seraphina turned away from him, facing her court with an expression that had reassembled itself into royal authority. But Marcus had seen what lay beneath, something that looked remarkably like grief. "Leave us," she commanded. "All of you. Your radiance, I must protest," Vathis began. "Did I stutter, Uncle?" The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The human stays. Everyone else leaves. Now. The court emptied in minutes, nobles and guards alike fleeing before their queen's unprecedented display of emotion. Vathis was the last to go, his suspicious glare fixed on Marcus until the massive doors sealed behind him. Only then did Seraphina turn back to Marcus. The royal mask was gone, replaced by something rawer, younger, more vulnerable. 3 years ago, she said quietly, I led a patrol along the border territories. We detected your ship as it was attacked by Consortium raiders. By the time we arrived, she closed her eyes. I saw escape pods launching. 2 of them. We rescued 13 survivors before the raiders drove us back. I tried to go back for the others, but my commanders overruled me. The Velanthi do not risk royal blood for human survivors. Marcus's heart was pounding. 13 survivors? Who? What happened to them? They were taken to a medical station. I intended to check on them, but my duties. She shook her head bitterly. By the time I returned, I was told they had died of their injuries. All 13. I mourned for them. For 3 years, I have carried that failure. Someone lied to you. Yes. Her voice hardened. Someone did. And I intend to find out who and why. She looked at him again, and this time Marcus saw something beyond grief. He saw recognition. I saw your face through the viewport of your escape pod. You looked at me. Do you remember? Marcus closed his eyes, and suddenly he was back in that moment. The chaos, the burning ship, the desperate launch. And through the small window, a Velanthi warship, and on its bridge, a figure watching him. A figure who had raised her hand, as if in promise. I thought I imagined it, he said. I thought I was dying, and my mind was showing me something beautiful before the end. You called out, Seraphina said, through the emergency channel. Your words were... She paused, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing faster. They have stayed with me. Marcus remembered. In that moment of absolute desperation, believing he was about to die, he had opened the comm and spoken to the only witness to his end. Don't forget us, he said, the words coming back to him. Don't let us disappear. I didn't, Seraphina whispered. I couldn't. I have thought of you every day since. Wondered who you were, what your name was, whether you suffered at the end. A bitter laugh escaped her. And now you kneel before me as a gift, as an insult. I'm not insulted, Marcus said. She looked at him sharply. You should be. Maybe. He met her gaze steadily. But for 3 years, I survived in Consortium labor camps by holding on to one memory. A Velanthi ship trying to reach me, someone who saw me, someone who tried. He paused. That was you? That was me. Then no, Marcus said simply. I'm not insulted. For the first time since he had entered the throne room, the Queen smiled. It was small, hesitant, almost uncertain, as if she had forgotten how. What is your name, human? Marcus Chen, she repeated, as if testing how the sounds fit together. I am going to do something my court will consider madness. I am going to refuse to accept you as a gift. Marcus's heart sank despite himself. You're sending me back to the Consortium? No. Seraphina's smile grew slightly wider. I am going to buy your freedom. And then I am going to offer you a position in my household. Not as a slave, not as a slave, not as a pet, but as a guest. An advisor, perhaps. Someone who can tell me about humans, about Earth, about the species my people have dismissed as primitive. Your court will never accept that. My court, Seraphina said, a hint of steel entering her voice, does not rule the Dominion. I do. She paused. You asked me once not to forget you. I haven't. Now I'm asking you, will you stay? Marcus looked at this alien queen, powerful, alone, carrying a burden of expectation that would have crushed most beings. He saw in her eyes something he had almost forgotten existed, the possibility of beginning again. Yes, he said. I'll stay. 3 weeks had passed since Marcus's arrival, and in that time, He had learned that the Velanthi concept of guest occupied a complicated space in their social hierarchy. He was not a servant. Servants were given specific duties and clear boundaries. He was not a noble. Nobles were born into intricate webs of obligation and privilege. He existed in a liminal space, observed by everyone and understood by no one, including, sometimes, himself. His quarters in the eastern wing of the palace were larger than his entire family home on Earth had been. The walls shifted colors based on his emotional state, which he found both fascinating and deeply unnerving. The furniture adjusted itself to accommodate human proportions. A small garden of bioluminescent plants provided soft illumination at night. It was comfortable. It was also a cage, however gilded. "You are thinking too loudly again." Marcus turned from the window to find Seraphina standing in his doorway. She wore simpler robes today, deep blue with silver threading, and her usual crown of horns was unadorned. It was how she appeared when she visited him privately, which happened more often than either of them acknowledged. "I didn't hear you come in," he said. "Clearly." She moved into the room, her gait looser than her formal court movements. "You are lost in whatever humans lose themselves in when they stare at nothing. We call it brooding. It's a species specialty." "Ah." She settled onto one of the seats, which immediately reshaped itself around her taller frame. "I have come to brood with you then. It seems only fair." Marcus sat across from her. In these moments, stripped of courtly protocol, he could almost forget what she was. Almost. The council meeting didn't go well, he guessed. Seraphina's patterns flickered irritably. Lord Kethris demanded to know why the human curiosity is still occupying palace quarters. Lady Morith suggested that my fascination with primitives explains my failure to select a proper mate. And my beloved uncle reminded everyone that the succession accords require me to announce a consort choice within 2 cycles or face a regency challenge. 2 cycles. That's about 8 Earth months. Approximately. She waved a hand dismissively. They have been threatening me with the accords for years. It's their favorite weapon. Why haven't you chosen someone? In all this time, the question hung between them. Seraphina was quiet for long enough that Marcus wondered if he had overstepped. Their conversations had grown more personal over the weeks, but there were still boundaries neither of them had tested. "Do you know what a Velanthi bond is?" she finally asked. "I know the basics. A psychic connection between mates. Permanent. Deep. Not just deep," Seraphina said. "Total. When Velanthi bond, we merge parts of ourselves. We share emotions, memories, even physical sensations in times of stress or intimacy. It cannot be hidden from or lied to. A bonded pair knows each other completely." She paused. "For most Velanthi, this is considered the highest form of intimacy. For a queen, it is a vulnerability. Because your consort would know your thoughts, your strategies, your fears, every one of them. And I would know his." Her eyes met Marcus's. "Every ambitious noble who has sought my hand has wanted that access. They couch it in romance, in duty, in honor, but what they want is power. To be inside the mind of the most powerful woman in the Dominion. So you've refused them all." "I have." A bitter smile crossed her face, "and in doing so I have confirmed their suspicions that something is wrong with me. That I'm cold. Broken. Incapable of connection." She looked away. "Perhaps they're right." "They're not." Seraphina glanced back at him, surprise flickering across her features. "They're not right," Marcus repeated. "You're not incapable of connection. You're protecting yourself. There's a difference." "Is there?" "After 8 years of isolation, I sometimes wonder." "I spent 3 years in labor camps," Marcus said quietly. "Surrounded by other prisoners, but completely alone. I learned to stop reaching out because every time I did, something was taken from me. A friend. A hope. A piece of who I used to be." He paused. "But that wasn't because I couldn't connect. It was because connection costs, and I didn't have anything left to pay." Seraphina studied him with that searching intensity he was beginning to recognize. "And now, I'm trying to remember how. It's slow." "Yes," she murmured. "It is." They sat in silence, but it was a different kind of silence than Marcus was used to, not the absence of communication, but a form of it. 2 damaged souls recognizing each other. Finally, Seraphina rose. "Walk with me. I want to show you something." The palace gardens at night were unlike anything on Earth. Plants with crystalline leaves caught the light of the artificial moons, creating prismatic patterns that shifted with the slightest breeze. Pools of liquid silver reflected the sky. Creatures like floating jellyfish drifted between the trees, their bodies pulsing with soft internal light. Marcus and Seraphina walked side by side, not touching, but closer than protocol permitted. Guards followed at a distance, always the guards. But Seraphina had ordered them to remain out of earshot. "When I was young," she said, "before my mother died and the crown passed to me, I used to dream of bonding. I imagined finding someone who would see all of me, the fears I hid, the doubts I swallowed, the loneliness I pretended didn't exist, and love me anyway. Not despite those things, but including them. What happened to that dream? I became queen at 19. Suddenly, everyone wanted to see inside me. But none of them wanted to love what they found. They wanted to use it." She stopped beside one of the silver pools, her reflection rippling in the liquid metal. "I learned to wall myself off, to become untouchable. It was the only way to survive. And now," Seraphina turned to face him. In the soft bioluminescence of the garden, her patterns pulsed in slow, steady rhythms, calmer than he had ever seen them. "Now I find myself talking to a human," she said, "sharing things I have never shared with anyone, wondering why it feels safe to do so." Marcus's heart was beating faster, but he kept his voice steady. "Maybe because I can't hurt you. I have no power here, no position, no leverage. What would I do with your secrets? Who would I tell? Perhaps?" She tilted her head, studying him. "Or perhaps it's because you have your own walls. You understand what it costs to lower them. You won't demand what I'm not ready to give." "No," Marcus agreed softly. "I won't." Seraphina reached out, slowly, deliberately, and took his hand. The contact was electric. Not literally, though Marcus half expected it to be. Her people were semi-telepathic after all. But there was an intensity to the simple gesture that stole his breath. "This is forward," she said, not letting go. "By Velanthi standards, holding hands with an unbonded male is, my God, significant. I figured. You don't pull away." "No." "Why?" Marcus looked at their joined hands, his darker skin against her luminescent pale, 5 fingers against 6, warmth against cool smoothness. So different. So strange. So right. "Because for 3 years," he said, "I thought I was alone in the universe, completely forgotten. And then I came here and discovered that someone remembered me. Someone tried to save me." He met her eyes. "I don't know what this is between us, or what it could become. But I'm not going to pull away from the first connection I felt since I lost everything." Seraphina's patterns shifted through colors he didn't have names for, complex emotional cascades that made her skin a moving artwork. "You terrify me," she whispered. "I know. You terrify me too. Good." A small smile curved her lips. "Then, we are equally matched." A sound from the path made them both step back, hands separating. A servant approached, bowing low. "Your Radiance, Lord Vathis requests your presence. Urgently. The Consortium ambassador has arrived unannounced." Seraphina's demeanor transformed instantly, the vulnerable woman vanishing beneath the ice of royal authority. But before she turned to leave, she glanced back at Marcus. "Tomorrow," she said. "Same time, if you wish, I wish." Another small smile, quickly hidden. Then she was gone, striding toward the palace with the servant hurrying behind her. Marcus remained in the garden, his hand still warm where she had held it. The Consortium ambassador was a Xyrathai named Thesic Vor, all sharp angles and sharper words. His species communicated partly through chromatophores in their skin, colors rippling across their scaled hides to convey emotional subtexts their language didn't express. Right now, those colors were smug yellows and aggressive oranges. Marcus watched from the shadows of the throne room gallery, hidden among the servants' alcoves. Seraphina had not forbidden him from observing court sessions, and he had learned much by watching. Today, however, felt different. Dangerous. "The Consortium grows concerned," Thesic Vor was saying, his colors pulsing with barely veiled threat. "Our gift was meant to honor the Dominion. Yet we hear rumors that the human walks freely, speaks with the Queen privately, enjoys privileges beyond his station. The disposition of gifts within my domain is my concern," Seraphina replied coolly. "Not yours." "Ah, but you see, it is. The human was convicted of espionage against the Consortium. He carries sentence of death. We merely commuted that sentence in the spirit of diplomatic generosity. If the Dominion does not wish to honor the terms of that gift, the Consortium would be happy to take him back." "Conviction by tribunal for trumped-up charges," Seraphina countered. "The Meridian Hope was a diplomatic vessel, ambassador. Its destruction was an act of war, not justified response to espionage. Historical interpretations vary eyed. Thesic Vor's colors cycled through dismissive blues. The point remains, the human is ours. Legally, morally, and practically. We have been patient, but patience has limits. Marcus's stomach tightened. He had known, intellectually, that his position was precarious. The Consortium had never truly given him away. They had loaned him, expecting him to be humiliated or killed, a message to humanity about its place in the galaxy. Seraphina's unexpected protection had disrupted their plans. Now they wanted him back. You threaten my sovereignty in my own throne room. Seraphina's voice dropped to dangerous registers. Around the room, guards shifted subtly toward ready positions. Threaten? No. Thesicvor made a sound approximating laughter. Merely clarify. The Consortium values its relationship with the Dominion. We would hate to see that relationship damaged over something so insignificant as a single human. And yet you seem to value this human highly enough to make demands. We value order. Protocol. The proper respect between powers. The ambassador stepped closer, his colors darkening to serious purples. The human carries intelligence about our operations. He has doubtless shared that intelligence with you. This is problematic. The human has shared nothing with me but conversation. Whatever intelligence he may possess about your operations has not been extracted or exploited. So you say. But how can we trust? You call the Queen of the Velanthi Dominion a liar. Lord Vathis stepped forward, his own outrage genuine even if his motivations were murky. In her own court? Thesicvor made a placating gesture. I suggest only that the human's influence may be greater than recognized. He is, after all, still alive, still free, still speaking privately with the ruler of the largest power in this quadrant. One might wonder what he offers in exchange for such favor. The implication hung in the air like poison. Marcus saw Seraphina's patterns flare with fury, but also beneath that, fear. Not for herself. For him. This audience is concluded, she said, her voice like winter. The Dominion will provide its formal response to the Consortium's concerns through proper diplomatic channels. Ambassador, you will return to your quarters until arrangements for your departure are made. I urge reconsideration, Your Radiance. The Consortium is not without resources. We would hate to see the Dominion damaged by association with unworthy elements. Is that a threat? A concern? Thesicvor bowed with exaggerated courtesy. Between friends. He withdrew, his entourage following. The court erupted in whispered discussions as soon as the doors closed. Marcus slipped away from the gallery, but not quickly enough. A servant intercepted him with a message. The Queen requested his presence in her private study. Immediately, he found her pacing, her patterns cycling through agitation so intense they were nearly painful to watch. The living silver of her furniture had retreated to the walls, sensing her mood. You heard? She asked without preamble. I heard. They want you back. They'll find a way to force the issue, embargo, sanctions, border pressure. The Consortium has been looking for an excuse to test the Dominion's strength since my mother's death. She stopped pacing, facing him. I won't give you to them. I need you to understand that. No matter what happens, I will not let them take you. Seraphina, I know what this looks like. I know what my court thinks. I know what the galaxy will assume. Her voice cracked slightly. I don't care. I have spent 8 years caring what everyone thinks, and it has made me nothing but lonely and suspicious and cold. You are the first person in all that time who has seen me as something other than a crown or a problem to be solved. Your radiance, Marcus said carefully. I appreciate. Don't. She cut him off, closing the distance between them. Don't retreat into formality. Not with me. Not now. They stood close enough that he could feel the subtle warmth radiating from her skin, see the individual pulses of light traveling through her patterns. Her eyes, those impossible violet gold eyes, were bright with unshed tears. They're right about one thing, she whispered. You have influenced me. You have changed something in me. I don't know what to call it, but I know I won't give it up. Not for the Consortium. Not for my court. Not for anyone. Even if it costs you your throne? Especially then. She reached up, and this time, she didn't stop herself. Her fingers touched his face, tracing the scar she had first recognized him by. This mark. I looked for you for months after the attack. I commissioned reports, demanded investigations. Everyone told me you were dead, that all the survivors had died. I mourned. I'm sorry. No. Let me finish. Her touch traveled down his jaw, feather light. When I saw you in my throne room chained and broken, I felt something I haven't felt in years. Hope. Terrible, dangerous hope. I told myself it was just the shock of recognition, that it would fade. But it hasn't faded, Marcus. Every day, it grows stronger. Seraphina, I'm just a human. I have nothing to offer you. No title, no power, no armies. Your people barely consider my species sentient. My people are wrong about many things. Her hand dropped to rest over his heart. You asked me once why I haven't bonded. The true answer is that I never met anyone whose mind I wanted inside mine, whose thoughts I could trust with my deepest self, whose soul wouldn't corrupt or pollute the bond with ambition and greed. And now, her patterns pulsed in a steady rhythm that Marcus realized, with sudden insight, matched his heartbeat. Now I find myself wondering what it would feel like to bond with someone who has seen the worst of the galaxy and still chooses kindness. Someone who has lost everything and still refuses to become cruel. Someone who looks at me and sees a person, not a prize. Seraphina, I'm not asking you for anything, she said quickly. I know this is too fast, too much. I know humans are different. I know. Marcus kissed her. He didn't plan it. One moment she was speaking, the next his hands were cupping her face, and his lips were on hers. She made a small sound of surprise that melted into something softer, her hands fisting in his shirt, her patterns exploding into cascading colors. The kiss was brief, barely a moment, but when they broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. That was forward, Marcus said. By any species standards, yes. Her voice was shaking. It was. I'm sorry if I don't apologize. She pulled him close again, resting her forehead against his. Don't ever apologize for that. They stood together, wrapped in each other's presence, as the political crisis swirled around them unseen. For one perfect moment, nothing else existed. Then alarms began to sound throughout the palace. The attack came from within. Vathis' guards moved through the palace corridors with precision, sealing doors, capturing key servants, controlling communications. By the time Seraphina and Marcus reached the command center, half the building was in enemy hands. Traitor! Seraphina snarled as tactical displays showed the scope of her uncle's betrayal. He was always ambitious, but this... He's made a deal with the Consortium, Marcus realized. That's why Thessigvor was so confident. They knew this was coming. If Vathis takes control, he'll hand me over to the Consortium for disposal and claim regency until a suitable consort can be found for the throne. Seraphina's patterns blazed with fury. He's been planning this for years. Your Radiance, one of her loyal guards reported, the traitors control the palace's central systems. We're cut off from our forces outside the walls. How many loyal guards remain? 30, perhaps 40. Against over 200. Seraphina closed her eyes. Marcus could see her calculating, weighing options, finding none. There's another way, he said quietly. She opened her eyes. What? Me? Vathis wants me eliminated because I'm a complication. The Consortium wants me because I'm a loose end. If I surrender myself, no, listen to me. If I turn myself over to Thessigvor directly, I bypass Vathis entirely. I remove his excuse. The Consortium gets what they want, and suddenly your uncle's coup loses its justification. You would be killed. I would be gone either way. At least this way you survive. I won't let you sacrifice yourself for me. Seraphina grabbed his shoulders, her grip fierce. I won't. It's not just for you. Marcus placed his hands over hers. It's for what you represent. The dominion under your rule could change things. Could treat humans as partners instead of primitives. Could stand against Consortium expansion. Could build a different kind of galaxy. He smiled sadly. That's worth dying for. You're worth living for. Her voice broke. Doesn't that matter? It matters more than you know. He kissed her forehead softly. Which is why I have to do this. Because I finally have something worth protecting. The explosion rocked the building before Seraphina could respond. Debris rained from the ceiling. Guards rushed in with reports of breached walls, enemy forces advancing, Vathis' troops pushing toward the command center. We're out of time, Marcus said. Let me go. I can't. You have to. Their eyes met. A moment of perfect, terrible understanding. Two people who had found each other against all odds, now forced apart by the same universe that had brought them together. I will find you, Seraphina whispered fiercely. However long it takes, wherever they take you, I will find you. I know. One more kiss, desperate, brief, full of everything they hadn't had time to say. Then Marcus ran. The Consortium detention ship was cold and gray, a perfect reflection of Marcus's current circumstances. He had been here for 3 days, or what he estimated was 3 days. The artificial lighting never changed, waiting for whatever fate Thessigvor had planned. Surrender had been surprisingly easy. He had walked out of the palace through a servant's passage, hands raised, calling for the Consortium forces. The surprise on their faces had almost been worth it. They had been expecting to capture him as a trophy after the coup. Instead, he had given himself freely. The gamble had worked, at least partially. With Marcus in custody, the Consortium had withdrawn their support from Vathus's rebellion. Without that backing, the traitorous uncle's forces had crumbled within hours. Seraphina's loyal guards had rallied, retaken the palace, and arrested Vathus before he could flee. Marcus had heard the news through the walls, Consortium guards gossiping, not caring if the human prisoner overheard. The Queen was safe. The Dominion was stable. It was enough. On the fourth day, Thesicvor came to visit. "You're a curious creature," the ambassador said, his colors cycling through analytical greens. "You had the Queen's protection, freedom, comfort, and you threw it away." "I traded it," Marcus corrected. "There's a difference. For what?" "Her survival. The Dominion's stability. These things benefit you nothing in here." "Maybe I wasn't thinking about benefits." Thesicvor made his approximation of laughter. "So the human is a romantic. How charmingly primitive." He leaned closer to the cell barrier. "You realize what happens now? You will be transferred to a Consortium prison world. You will be interrogated extensively about everything you told the Queen. Then, when we've extracted everything useful, you will be executed as the spy you were always convicted of being." "Looking forward to it." "Bravado is meaningless." "It's not bravado." Marcus met the ambassador's many eyes steadily. "It's acceptance. I made my choice. I'm at peace with it." Thesicvor studied him for a long moment, colors shifting through confusion and grudging respect. "You genuinely don't fear death," he observed. "How strange. Most species cling to survival above all else. Most species haven't lost everything and found it again in the space of 3 years. When you've already mourned your own existence, death loses some of its power." The ambassador turned away, dismissing the conversation. "Prepare him for transfer. We depart within the hour." But when the guards came to his cell an hour later, they weren't Consortium. They were Velanthi. Marcus barely had time to register the silver armor, the royal insignias, before the cell barrier dropped and someone threw themselves into his arms. Seraphina Dutt. "You impossible, stubborn, self-sacrificing human," she whispered against his neck, her patterns blazing through every color he had ever seen and dozens he hadn't. "Did you really think I would let them take you? The Dominion doesn't risk royal blood for human survivors," he said, echoing her words from what felt like a lifetime ago. "The Dominion," she said, pulling back to look at him, "answers to me. And I have decided to change that policy." Around them, Velanthi soldiers were securing the ship, disarming Consortium guards, taking control with precise efficiency. Marcus glimpsed Thesicvor being led away in energy restraints, his colors cycling through panicked oranges. "How?" Marcus asked. "The moment you surrendered, I began planning. My loyal captains smuggled assault teams onto vessels, scheduled to dock with the Consortium ship. We waited until you were far enough from Consortium space that reinforcements couldn't arrive in time." Seraphina smiled, fierce and proud. "You saved my throne. Did you think I wouldn't return the favor? I thought you'd be smart enough not to risk a war over one human." "War?" She laughed. "The Consortium attacked my palace, supported a coup against my rule, and kidnapped a member of my household. If anything, I have shown remarkable restraint by only capturing this single vessel instead of burning their entire diplomatic corps." "Member of your household?" Seraphina's expression softened. She took his hands in hers, and he noticed for the first time that she was shaking, not from fear, but from the aftermath of fear released. "I told you I would find you," she said. "Did you believe me?" "I wanted to. Then believe this." She lifted his hands to her lips, pressing a kiss to his knuckles. "I am not letting you go again. Not to the Consortium. Not to politics. Not to your own misguided nobility. You are mine, Marcus Chen, and I am yours, and I don't care what the galaxy thinks about it. Your court, my court, will accept what I tell them to accept. And what I will tell them is that humanity's value cannot be measured by technology or territory or military strength. It is measured by the quality of its souls, by the courage to sacrifice for others, by the ability to find hope in the darkest places." Her patterns pulsed in that steady rhythm he had come to recognize as her heartbeat. "I have found more of those qualities in you than in any Velanthi noble who has ever sought my hand, Seraphina," Marcus said, her name feeling like a prayer on his lips. "I'm still just a human. I still have nothing to offer you but myself." "Then, offer yourself." She stepped closer, until barely a breath separated them. "Offer me your loyalty, your honesty, your strange human capacity to love without expecting anything in return." She paused. "Offer me a bond." Marcus's heart stopped. A Velanthi bond? But I don't have my scientists believe it may be possible. Human minds are different, yes, but not incompatible. The bond might work differently than with a Velanthi partner. Perhaps less complete, perhaps more. We don't know. She cupped his face in her hands. But I want to try. With you. Only with you. If it doesn't work, then we find another way. Human marriage. Velanthi companionship. Something new that no one has tried before. Her smile was radiant and terrified and hopeful all at once. I'm tired of doing things the way they've always been done. I want to build something new. Will you build it with me? In the 3 years since the Meridian Hope had burned, Marcus had imagined many futures for himself. Death in labor camps. Execution for crimes he hadn't committed. A slow fade into forgotten obscurity. He had never imagined this. An alien queen with stars in her eyes, offering him a partnership that could change 2 civilizations. He had never imagined being worthy of it. But maybe worthiness wasn't about titles or power or species. Maybe it was about choosing, again and again, to reach for connection instead of hiding from it. To hope instead of surrender. To love even when love seemed impossible. Yes, Marcus said. I'll build it with you. Seraphina's joy exploded across her skin in cascading waves of light, and when she kissed him this time, there was no desperation in it, only promise. Around them, Velanthi soldiers carefully pretended not to notice their queen embracing a human in the corridor of a captured enemy ship. Some things, they understood, were more important than protocol. 6 months later, the queen of the Velanthi Dominion announced her choice of consort to a stunned galaxy. The political ramifications echoed for years. The Consortium faced sanctions, humanity gained a powerful ally, and the universe slowly began to adjust to the idea that connection could bridge even the widest divides. But all of that was politics. What mattered to Marcus was simpler, a hand in his as they walked through bioluminescent gardens. A voice that called him by name instead of species. A presence in his mind, faint but growing stronger as their bond developed, that reminded him, every moment of every day, that he was known. Seen. Cherished. She had looked at him once, through the viewport of an escape pod, and promised without words to remember him. She had kept that promise. And in keeping it, she had given him something he thought he had lost forever. A home. YouTube description, 1000 character. A human is offered as a political gift to a powerful alien queen, meant to humiliate both him and her. But the moment she sees him, everything changes. She recognizes him as the survivor from a ship she tried to save years ago, a man she never forgot. As conspiracies, betrayal, and interstellar politics close in, a lonely alien queen and a broken human must decide whether love and loyalty are worth risking empires for. This HFI sci-fi story blends romance, danger, and emotional connection across species, proving that even in the coldest galaxies, one soul can change everything. Keywords HFI, HFI-Fi, Alien Queen, Alien Romance, Human-Alien Love, Sci-Fi, Romance, Galactic Empire, Alien Empress, Interstellar Drama, Space Opera, Humanity Fuck, yeah, Emotional, Sci-Fi, Alien Royal, Sci-Fi Love Story.